Hey guys, this is Vic from Grasping the Market and welcome to our market briefing. Today we had no change on the larger time frame as we traded inside the previous week's range. However, on the daily, we see that after a very sharp three-session move to the upside with two gaps included, today we had a retracement for the first time. Two important things about that retracement. We went back below the 100-day moving average, but the upper gap didn't close completely, and the 2900 area served as support. So I mentioned on the briefing yesterday that there was a very good possibility of having a pullback. What we need to assess now is if this pullback enough to balance inventory after the sharp move up, or we need to go further down before we can continue to the upper side of the range if we're going to continue anyway, because there's also the possibility that this retraces down and we head to the lower side of the range. Additional details on the market profile. Important to see that as we open, we drove outside the range with such a force that we went down from 18 to 04. That's 14 handles in one go, but then the move stopped and there was a huge and quick retracement, which is a lot of responsive buying. Now on the D period, we got a rejection from the settlement and halfback of the previous day, and there were a couple of situations in which here on EFGH there was an inability to get back outside. I have to say, a lot of trading back and forth, a lot of short activity. At the end they got what they wanted, but the important thing to mention here is that in this period there was a lot of long accumulation. And those longs, some of those longs had to bail when the push finally happened. And then a similar situation happened here before the M period. You can see how the J and L touched the low from the morning, but there was an inability, like immediate inability to go through. And there was a lot of buying happening on I, J, K, L. Now, if some of this buying accumulation and here is a larger time frame, I think the odds are good that after doing this pullback, and if there's nothing further to the downside, we resume strongly. It's very difficult to say now because in both occasions here they got the extension. The sellers that were selling, they got the extension, and then at the end of the session we had a late spike, late break lower, and they also got the extension. But the interesting thing is that despite creating a separate distribution, they didn't manage to close the gap, leaving only almost 2.5 handles. That's very questionable, because having been able to close all of this in almost one go, then all this struggle just to stop short. So focus for tomorrow is definitely on assessing continuation from this late move. I would say from 04 to 97.50. If we get acceptance below, obviously that increases the odds of further downside. But if we start getting acceptance back above today's early morning low at 04, so that means this area, and especially the M high, all this area within here or here, that denotes change. And I think that if that happens, there's a good chance that we continue upwards. Further information, remember that tomorrow we had some economic data in the form of the FOMC minutes, I believe. But later in the week, on Thursday and Friday we have the Jackson Hole Symposium, and a lot of market movement can come out of those two events. So pay attention, manage your risk wisely, and as I said, focus for tomorrow is assessing continuation from this late move.